Hey, would you want to play Dungeons and Dragons sometime? Because if you're looking for a fun and engaging hobby that doesn't require a screen or notifications, updates, ads unless you pay for the premium version, then playing D&D sometime is definitely worth a try. Believe it or not, this very question, this offer to play, changed my life in so many positive ways, and if you haven't played a game like Dungeons and Dragons before, that claim should sound unbelievable. How can it be that an old board game with weird dice where you pretend to be elves or something could be any more fun or productive than funneling countless hours of my attention into the infinite scroll of memes and outrage scientifically designed to drain my willpower and subject me to advertising? Yeah, social media, gaming, screen time in general isn't all bad, says the full-time content creator who will include a sponsored segment later in this video, but it's true. This old board game with weird dice where you pretend to be elves and stuff is a fantastic hobby in these trying times for three key reasons: accessibility, connection, and creativity. And it would have been better if I found a B word, ABC, but bonection. All you have to do is say, yeah, sure, I'd try D&D sometime. And to anyone out there who has already experienced the curiosity and the pleasant surprises, the endless creativity, or the new and deepened friendships, the thrills, and even the sorrows compartmentalized in a fantasy world that come with playing Dungeons and Dragons or similar fantasy role-playing games, you just get to sit back and ride on our high horses of how cool this nerdy hobby can be, and maybe comment with your own life-changing testimonials or your advice for getting through some of the obstacles to playing D&D that you know I gotta talk about as well. And you know what? This is the first time I've ever hosted my own live stream.
Oh, brother, this guy's...
Reason one that D&D is an awesome hobby: accessibility. And that one word, accessibility, is doing a lot of heavy lifting, so hear me out. Dungeons and Dragons is everywhere these days. For a game long associated with a few dudes huddled around a table in a dim basement, wearing funny hats and capes and playing with painted figurines, it is shocking how popular D&D has become over just the last decade or so. Until you realize that this image was a stereotype, and it's just one way that people enjoy this hobby. Literally, I was in my parents' basement hanging out with my fellow 20-something-year-old boys when one of my friends asked the rest of us, would you guys want to play Dungeons and Dragons sometime? And my gut reaction, my internal monologue said, well, I know we're nerds, but are we D&D nerdy? Fortunately, seeing the uncertainty on our faces, my friend quickly explained, oh, it's just like Skyrim and Lord of the Rings, but you get to make it up. I played with my brother, it's really fun. Sold. And that's level one of D&D's accessibility today, either through mainstream fantasy media and games like Stranger Things, Baldur's Gate 3, the D&D movie, or through niche yet mega popular D&D events like 20-Sided Tavern or Dimension 20 selling out Madison Square Garden. Everybody today has a clearer picture of what D&D is like and how it can be enjoyed in many ways, even if they don't really understand how the game itself works. But that's the second part of this accessibility. While today's internet can be kinda terrible to our fragile human brains, it's also given rise to a wildly creative and welcoming indie scene of dungeon masters and game designers, making videos and articles that show you how to play, as well as making countless new games inspired by D&D, but tailored for different genres, different rules complexity, and every style of play you can imagine. And that's the third and final part of reason one: even in this economy, imagination is free. D&D is often called a collaborative storytelling game because at its core, you're just talking with a few other people, describing your character's interactions within a shared fantasy world, and then rolling weird dice when it makes sense to introduce some random chance. Yeah, thankfully, as a bunch of broke 20-something-year-old dudes living with our parents, my friend the Dungeon Master did already own the rulebook, but we didn't really use it. We made up character abilities that seemed fun, we occasionally sketched out our own maps, and we shared one set of polyhedral role-playing game dice, and we walked uphill both ways to the game session. But that experience, limited as it was, hooked me for life. I can't emphasize enough that playing D&D for the first time is experiencing a wholly new type of entertainment. So before we move on to the biggest challenges of getting into D&D, know that I'm dropping links to a few of my favorite free beginner resources below, and know that if you want to, you can go insano style, spending thousands of dollars on custom character miniatures, game tables, terrain, and every D&D player's favorite accessory, polyhedral role-playing game dice. And if you do decide to go premium quality for this most precious and tangible part of the game, you're going to want to check out today's awesome sponsor. There it is. This is not a normal D20. Yes, it's bigger and it looks really cool, but what makes this die unlike anything you've rolled before is the optimal numerical layout for random results. Yes, we're being that nerdy. Using the same logic that a normal D20 with opposing numbers is more random than a sequential spin-down D20, these all-new honest dice use the most even configuration possible based on the half sum and vertex sum of the die spaces supported by over 11,000 test rolls. And I hear ya, does anyone really need this level of precision? Nah, but yes. There's over 5,000 happy backers on the previous Honest Dice campaigns, so you know who you are. Plus, there's no long wait time for this campaign. The dice are already made, and yes, that means this is a genuine limited edition product. And if you need one more reason to check out Honest Dice, using my link below earns me a small commission. So go claim your favorite color set before somebody else does. And for our nature break today, this is the perfect time to show you this one plant that dominates the understory of a lot of forests in the state, or at least this side of the state where I live. It's called spicebush, and the reason that this thing, well, of course multiple reasons because we're in nature, but the dominant reason that this is the dominant plant is because deer don't really like to eat it. These leaves, which you'll not be able to notice via the camera, smell really funky. They'll eat anything else but this unless they're really desperate. Reason 2 that D&D is an awesome hobby, bone connection. You see, this is our beefy Act 2 of the video because it both raises the stakes for how cool this hobby can be and for how it presents the greatest challenges you'll face as someone getting into role-playing games for the first time or maintaining that love of the game through your life should you want to do so, like me. And I could introduce this topic of connection with a lengthy rant, digging deeper into how, in the year 2056, techno-oligarch billionaires will have eroded human connection, pitting society against itself with hyper-intelligent, vigilant marvels that constantly dangle both pleasure and anger before our eyes, such that people choose, if you could even call it a choice, to sacrifice their very will at the cold, glassy altar of the machines. Oh wait, did I say 2056? I meant today. Now, we don't need that in-depth discussion of the problems tied to a lack of day-to-day human connection, because you probably already feel it. A little apathy here, a little loneliness there, and for some of you watching, you feel a lot of those things all the time, and it sucks, and I'm sorry that's the way things are right now. But I genuinely believe that play is part of the solution. It is a fundamental and vital piece of a full human experience because of how it brings us together in a positive and healthy way. And playing games like Dungeons and Dragons is a perfect way to socialize these days, not only because it's free and doesn't require a screen, but also because it's a non-competitive game. So when you and a couple other people get together, it's all about enjoying each other's company, sharing some laughs, probably some food, and like we said earlier, sharing a story that you create as a group. We even have conventions where tens of thousands of happy nerds gather and game. It's like loving a pro sports team that doesn't have a rival. At worst, you could say there are different leagues of RPGs as different genres, rules, and playstyles, but truly, the only losers in the RPG community are the tiny, though sometimes loud, fraction of jerks who want to exclude other people for being themselves, and more on that challenge in a minute. On that note though, D&D can even help you connect with yourself. We'll talk about all the artistic benefits of solo D&D in the final section on creativity, but also, from a mental health perspective, it's becoming more and more common for teachers and parents to use role-playing games as a fun way to teach kids about empathy and making good choices, as well as real, licensed therapists using role-playing games as part of how they help some patients. Little fun fact, I've seen an interview with one of the original creators of fantasy adventure gaming as we know it, and he said that they didn't like the term role-playing because at the time it was mostly associated with shrinks and therapy, but boy how we've come full circle. Now, I want to address and dispel a couple more negative D&D stereotypes that you may be aware of or will surely find out about at some point that may make people apprehensive about playing the game. These are dungeon masters who are jerks and RPG horror stories. For a lot of D&D's history, the dungeon master was put on a pedestal. The special player is the main creative engine behind the game, designing most or all of the game world's details. They are the referee, with their own unique rulebook and getting the final say on all rules interpretations, and they are a host, often shouldering the responsibility of coordinating everyone else's schedules to find time to play. In short, the Dungeon Master traditionally puts in way more effort than the other players, which can lead to them feeling a sense of dominion over the game. And very rarely you would come across a DM who abuses that power. And I mean, perfect segue, that's where a lot of RPG horror stories come from. These are tales usually recorded on Reddit posts about dungeon masters or players who act unrealistically cruel in a myriad of flavors. The good news is that most RPG horror stories are extremely exaggerated, one-sided views of merely awkward interactions, or they're complete fiction. And in either case, the community only perpetuates this dramatization for the same reason that anyone enjoys horror media. It's just entertaining in a macabre or more schadenfreude sort of way. So even though you will find thousands and thousands of these stories on the internet, they are absolutely not representative of how the overwhelming majority of people connect while playing Dungeons & Dragons. Anecdotally, I've been playing for over a decade now, including lots of games with strangers, and I've seen a few awkward conflicts firsthand. But the only time I've seen someone booted from a game was when the player gave the DM an obnoxious ultimatum, do this or I quit, and the DM rightfully said, okay, bye. That's it. The truest RPG horror stories of them all are the challenges of finding a group and maintaining one. So I'm going to present the tried and true solutions for finding RPG players, but know that you only need one of these solutions to work. Then, once you play with the same group a couple times, you'll probably be able to keep that group together for a few months until, inevitably, someone's schedule changes the group dynamic and you go back to searching for one or more players. That's totally normal. But before those solutions, how about my scariest nature break yet? Zooming in because I'm not getting close to this thing. Like a paper wasp nest? Classic cartoon looking bee's nest. And I do not want to get any closer to it. Solution 1, be the DM. There are already millions of people out there right now who just want to be a D&D player. So if only you take on the responsibility of Dungeon Master, which just to be clear, is totally fun and not that hard, then you'll have a much easier time coordinating and maintaining a group. 2, actually ask your friends and family if they would like to play D&D sometime. I swear, way too many people just assume, oh, my friends or family would never be into weird dice and pretending to be elves. But guess what? Everyone played make-believe, everyone likes rolling weird dice sometimes, and everyone wants to be a hero, or at least joke around with people they know. Maybe they won't love the kitchen sink medieval fantasy genre of D&D or its relatively complex rules, but remember it's completely normal to basically make your own custom version of the game for your specific group. We call this homebrewed or folk D&D, and it really is the most common way people play. 3, if your friends and family actually say no or try it but don't want to make it a regular thing, Then you can visit local game stores, comic shops, bookstores, libraries, cafes, and bars if age appropriate. Several of these establishments may already have a regular D&D game night, which you may even be able to find the details about online, but don't count on local businesses to have updated online calendars. What many of them do have are community bulletin boards to advertise their events. So as a DM, just ask the proprietor about posting and hosting a public game at that location. And if they're not sure about it, tell them that millions of people out there want to play D&D, it might attract some customers. Then just make an eye-catching and concise post with the details of your game, and the people will come. 4. If your local proprietors refuse to let you attract people to their business with a fun and casual event, we turn to the screens. Yes, I know we started out the video with phone bad, D&D good, but together, strong. There are many kinds of digital tools for RPGs without which some people would never be able to experience role-playing games, including many user-friendly apps and platforms for finding an RPG group online. Some of the most popular are the LFG subreddit, Roll20.com, and StartPlaying.games, which is a paid service but guarantees you a game night. The keys to remember are confidence and patience. You are a cool and smart person who can totally handle interacting with other people and running a game of make-believe with dice. So if you keep making a strong effort to find players, you will. And then, when someone's schedule changes, you do it again. There's an incredibly slim chance you end up playing with a jerk, so you don't play with that person again, and overall, it'll be worth it because the laughs and the food and the memories and the friendships that you'll make or deepen along the way are the antidote to the frustrating parts of life and the screens and all that. This connection is the good stuff that makes it easier to deal with all that stuff. And it's what opens the door to this other whole bundle of reasons that you'll love Dungeons and Dragons. Reason 3 that D&D is an awesome hobby: creativity. Son of a gun. This is my favorite part, and I kinda wish I led with it, so I might make another video that's entirely about how D&D feeds into countless other creative hobbies. But for now, when I was brand new to D&D, there were 2 things that really hooked me, both tied to the creative element. First, unlike the fantasy novels and open-world video games that I grew up with and loved, my D&D character could genuinely try anything. Within reason, according to the other dudes in our parents' basement. The simplest example is how, in an open-world video game, if you need to get past a wall, you probably need an unlocked door. In some games, you can pick locks, or jump through a window, or scale the wall itself, or dig beneath it, or bribe the guard at the door, or knock out the guard. But in D&D, you might be able to persuade the wall. Every creative solution you can think of is an option that you can attempt in the game, and magic makes it way easier and more fun to think outside the box. And the second creative element that hooked me was how D&D feeds into every other creative hobby that I already enjoy. Like a lot of kids, I grew up drawing all the time, loving every hands-on arts and crafts activity in school. I was a fiend for Legos at home, and I even did some painting and woodworking in high school, some poetry in college. But all of that had almost faded away in my young adulthood until I started playing D&D. We barely understood the rules, but that did not stop me from writing our session recaps with a little creative flair, from drawing maps of my DM's world, from building a dice tower and little wooden terrain pieces that we never even used, and hence my channel name. As soon as I started DMing, I was all in on world building, but that's just me. Some people spend hours creatively building characters with optimized features, or writing lengthy backstories, reading and writing lore and mechanics for monsters or magic items or spells, designing their own RPGs. I did that too, as I was learning how to play. Some people are drawn to the theatrical choice of speaking in character or getting into cosplay, but there's also painting miniatures, crafting terrain, custom dice, making music for your game, crocheting a dice bag, 3D modeling and printing props, and coding your own digital tools. My wife has not one, but 4 D&D related cookbooks and 1 D&D cocktail book. I learned how to restore cassette tapes because one RPG I bought came with a cassette soundtrack. And did I mention that I started a YouTube channel and learned how to make videos purely because I was obsessed with D&D and wanted to help more people get into the game? That was the biggest life changer for me, by the way. Now I'm also writing, designing, and even illustrating my own RPG book. back to drawing and it feels so good. And all this comes back to the solo aspect of RPGs, because for all these tangential hobbies and even playing the game, you can have tons of fun locking in for an hour or two, learning and practicing these things by yourself. And most of the time, that's going to feel better than if you had spent those couple hours alone scrolling. So your homework is to draw a picture with your own hands. I don't care if it's a smiley face that takes 3 seconds. I just want you to have fun. And I didn't plan this part ahead of time, so it's probably not going to line up well. But you could take your creative exercise a little further by checking out my latest World Builders Club post, linked below. It's free, no subscription. This isn't like a real club, to be honest. It's just a monthly mini writing prompt to keep you making cool stuff. So thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for making this possible, and keep building.